Welcome back to day 130 of our chess journey to 1500 ELO on chess.com. Let's just get going here and get rolling. So who are we going to play against today? We get Surupra from the UK. We'll go 1d4 as per usual. And we have a Queen's Gambit. A Slav defense. We'll play our normal modern line here. Our opponent takes. And here I think this is probably okay. Or we could come up here as well. It's probably not a bad move either. Our opponent wants to play b5. Honestly, we might as well play e3 here. Allow this and then come up to a4 here. Should definitely be a move. At least I think so. Our opponent here is responding well. I think we'll keep on striking. I'm just playing typical moves that you can normally find in a Queen's Gambit at least. At least a Queen's Gambit accepted, that is. And I think this definitely doesn't look all that bad. We might have some pressure down here. Our pieces are opening up. If our opponent takes here and tries to cash in being up one pawn, the pawns look, well, not fantastic. We get queen up here. And now I think we have an interesting move, or so I would have liked to say, but the bishop could come here so we don't quite threaten what appears to be a fork here. So we might delay that idea. Could come out here, of course. And queen can't take, so if the pawn takes, then what? We could bully the queen, I guess. Maybe not. There is a knight there. So how about maybe coming up with a knight here in that case? First of all, I think I just like to start off taking this. And then, yeah, the pawn takes. And this, I think, is probably just fine for us. Don't see any issues here. We could come out here, apply pressure to the pawn. Only way of defending it would be by pushing it. But if it's pushed, we have this move, I think, in which case we hit the queen and the queen has to move. And we also hit the pawn, which seems to work if you were to ask me. Or well, I guess this can be played, but not quite, because it doesn't actually defend the pawn because of our rook here. Which is a typical idea, at least in the Queen's Gambit accepted, that this pawn here typically can't take after we take here because of this. So our opponent here is a ways away from castling, but we've gotten most of our pieces active, and we have a lot of pressure down towards our opponent's position. So we are, I guess, 1, 2, 3 moves away from being fully developed. Definitely a nice position in that regard. The pawn is pushed, so I guess we'll come up here as I mentioned. This hits the queen and it hits the pawn, and hopefully here we should be able to pick up the pawn. Once again here, haven't said it today. I'm honestly repeating myself a bit day by day here, but I think it's important to make it clear I'm playing a bit quicker than I might have maybe preferred in some positions, but it's been asked by you guys because we've been playing a bit too slow as of late. Or well, I have, and you guys have been mentioning I should play a bit quicker. This doesn't quite work. I wanted it to work, but I didn't quite see how it would help us. I wanted to get this fork here, but the queen defends now, so we'll have to delay that thought. We could of course take here and cash in like this, in which case we are at even material, but there is a weakness here we could target and we are better developed. It's definitely an okay idea, I think. And I think we will in fact do it, because otherwise we could get some moves that could try and defend the pawn, which we wouldn't like to see. We'll take with the queen, because we don't want to pin ourselves, which we would have done if we did it the other way around. Now, as I mentioned, 1, 2, and 3 moves, and we are in a good position there. Would like to stack up some pressure on this a-pawn perhaps. Our knight is targeted down here. Isn't really an issue though. We'll come up here, develop our bishop while simultaneously defending our knight. I'm expecting the knight to come out maybe, but well, we could also see the bishop coming out like this maybe, or out here. Would have liked to occupy this diagonal here with our bishop, but I don't think we should waste a lot of moves going down here, and by the time we get there, the diagonal might not be as good. However, we might have this here, in fact, which might be interesting. And then we threaten taking here and getting the bishop here. If the bishop goes here, we still take. And well, we take with the knight as well, so it would lose material for our opponent. We could come here and the bishop could come here and be lost, so maybe not. And here and it would be lost, so I think either way this should work in our favor. Now our opponent might just not quite react and develop, which I guess might just be the best move here. But now we do have some coordination here towards our opponent's position, so we could get annoying and start just staring down at their position. We'd like to get to this maneuver, as it controls the knight here and occupies this powerful diagonal. Our opponent here goes for this, which I guess kind of mirrors what we're doing. Let's try and calculate this a bit. If this is played, do we have any chances here of getting something concrete? It's just entirely mirrored there, I think. But I think it's first, because if we move the bishop away, for example, this knight hangs, so that doesn't quite work. So let's calculate this, have a quick look at what happens here. Is there an in-between move, or is there not? We could take here and our opponent could take here. But then I think we have a move which they do not, which in fact is this move. They don't have a fork here, because of our knight controlling this square. So I think we'll take. We might expect our opponent to take, but they don't. We get this, and the calculation becomes unnecessary. Wait a second. Now this knight has to move, because the next move is going to be this by our opponent. So, where do we move the knight? We could go here and instantly pressure the pawn, and maybe look to remaneuver to the center of the board. This, and we block our own pieces, which is no good. Well, we could come here, but then this, and then what? I don't quite see what we're doing there. I think we would be losing a piece. So let's come up here instead. This and this, and our king gets centralized for the eventual endgame. Position here seems a bit dry, but we still have the option here of playing for a pawn advantage, targeting this a pawn with our development advantage. Or at least I'd like to say we have a development advantage, but it might have evened out a bit. We get takes here, and this essentially forces us to take. We are forced to take here, I think, but it's not all that bad. This doesn't work. The pawn is pushed, but still it should be lost because of this coordination down here. So let's take the pawn, and if takes, we get the bishop out and we get the rook out. We take. Most likely this bishop is going to move, but it's got limited options because of our pieces. It comes out here. Ideally here I would like to prevent our opponent from castling, but I don't quite see a good way of doing so, or a way of doing so at all, I guess. This move here is quite annoying, because if we move this now, there is this, but maybe not. There is this typical trap, and we could come back and pick up the bishop. So honestly, let's try and bait our opponent a bit. We'll move the rook, and it should be safe. I don't quite know which file is best. Let's maybe not pin ourselves. Let's come to the B file then, which is a light square, so we can't get hit by the bishop. And we can come in here, which is not controlled by the knight. Castle's likely to be played. We don't really have any counters. We'll just have to accept the move as it's played. Opposite colored bishops, quite drawish in that regard, but we might still have something here for sure. I think our pieces here are looking a bit too loose, so I'd like to get some improvements in regards to their positioning. First of all, the bishop here is not doing a whole lot, so how about coming back here and controlling a bit more of the board and covering some weaknesses? I think we'll go for it. The rook still can't come here and threaten a trade because of our knight. And this, there is still this move, followed by this idea here, and we should be up a piece. Also, if the bishop here leaves this diagonal, we could come in here for a check and Well, maybe not. We can't quite remaneuver from the square. Okay, so our opponent comes here. I got a bit confused for a second because I thought this was playable, but there is the bishop move. This loses a pawn because of those pieces here. So the knight has to move back. This doesn't look as good as I would like to, because if we get hit again, we would have to come back where we are, or we pin ourselves down here. So let's go here instead, maybe looking to get back through c4. And we can hit the bishop on the way there. Woke up with a stuffy nose today, but it's gotten a lot better throughout the day. It's currently 9 p.m, just got home from school, which is kind of funny to say, but it's been a long day with meetings and some interesting events. The knight jumps around here. We can't play this because then this is not a trap. I would like to play this, I guess, in some ways, because I would like to be able to push, but we don't quite have the option here. There is this threat, which looks to be annoying. So honestly, we might as well play h3 at this point, taking away this and taking away this. Yeah, let's do it. It's definitely a helpful move here. We don't have to play for tricks all the time. This could be played. I feel like we're controlling this file quite well, so the rook can't quite do anything down here. Our piece here that needs, well, the most improvement is our knight. This looks like a good maneuver, but if we come here, I guess the bishop is likely to remaneuver back. Our bishop will come back along this diagonal, maybe this diagonal here, but the knight jumps in here, and what can we expect? Might be looking for this, but we can block the idea, in fact, by coming here, and the knight can't come here because of the connection with the rook being cut off. So this is a multi-purpose move, which I don't mind. We could see this, I guess, but then we can come here and hit the bishop. If takes, we take the rook, so that would be quite good. We get checked. I didn't quite see this move, in fact, but I don't think it's an issue, though. Just want to see if we have any tactics here. This doesn't do a whole lot for us, as it loses material, and we don't have any tactics there. If we slide on over, then what? This is a fork, so we'll have to avoid that idea. This, and we pin ourselves. So this is looking to be a bit more annoying than I would have liked for this, and there is still the fork. So we might have to go here, but that's not possible because of the bishop. If we can't go here or here, honestly, our only move is this. I hate the move. This sucks. I don't want to pin ourselves, but it's first. Our alternative is losing material, and the material loss there is a bit too high for my liking. So honestly, might like to get the rook to b3, so we could block here and or avoid some annoying stuff. The bishop slides back. Might want to go here. We'll have to see. Where do we go? I guess I'd like to kick this knight out. Can we come here? But then there is some availability down here. A free square to hit. We can't move our knight yet because we were forced into this annoying pin. Let's maybe just go here first, taking away some options from the knight. Well, it could still go here, but that's honestly not all that bad. We would come here, and if takes and takes, the knight remains defended then by the king, and we don't have an opposite colored bishop game, so there might be some winning chances. Knight for a bishop is probably more winnable than light squared bishop against dark squared bishop. We might be having to look out for ideas like a back rank tactic, because the bishop, if it moves down here, maybe hitting this, then the last defender is the rook. The rook slides on over. We are looking at this idea. What do we play here? Maybe this. Honestly, it might be the best move even. Yeah, let's go for it. We don't quite centralize ourselves, but we prevent stuff down here. We control this. We unpin ourselves in the case the rook can come back. And we just defend some stuff. We're not by the pawns now, so it's not ideal in that regard, but I still feel like our king serves a purpose here. Although Stockfish might not agree, I don't quite know. We have this idea as well, which might force a trade, which honestly I don't know if it favors us or our opponent. This might be good under this right circumstances. So this here seems a bit more active than our current bishop position. It's not all that easy finding moves for our opponent. They could go here and say we can't take them, but I don't feel like there is a threat here. Then we come here maybe. Kind of control the knight. Yeah, it's played, but there isn't a whole lot here. Or is there? There is this, I guess. And this might in fact be annoying because it's a strong coordination down here. So let's have a quick look here if this is played. We have this. And the first thing I'm noticing here is we are in fact threatening to win material like this, this, and this. So let's say we go here and our opponent plays this. We go here. Can our opponent play an in-between move? It might be this then, but then takes, and we can block the rook like this. So this might be quite okay. So let's go here in fact. This will be played. We will go here. This, and well, the knight can't come here because the rook occupies this square. Now the rook has to move. Well, it could get defended like this, but then takes, and our opponent has a glaring weakness, which can be targeted immediately with this move, for example. We still have our 1 pawn advantage. And we might be able to turn it into something if we're able to push like this and get a trade here and escort the pawn up. We get this, this will be played, and we'll have to come here, I guess. Honestly, we might have this move first. Pinning this, but we can't quite pick the bishop up there. Or can we? Wait a second. Can we go here? Let's say this is played. We can come here, and I think this might even be able to win the bishop. It's greedy, so it has to be calculated. This. We come here. We could get checked, of course, but we would just come back around here. So this is first. We'll come here. If our opponent tries to move the king, for example, like this, we can come here, and immediately it looks quite bad. So I'd like to go for it. There might be a rook down here, but then we have the activity at least, which looks quite promising. We're going to be sacking a couple of pawns for this, but that's probably going to be worth it. As I mentioned, this might be our opponent's best resource here, but if it's played, we have the activity. There is a weakness to target, and we might just have a few moves to do what we want. And if this is played, is there this move? Might not be a move because of this pinning us, but I did like the idea at least. So let's say this is played. It's the only real move I am seeing here for our opponent. Where will we go? It's found, and surprisingly, it's essentially a forced move here. Can we go here? Maybe not. Maybe this is playable. And if this, we can still go here, and we might force our opponent to trade off a rook for a horse. This also threatens the pawn simultaneously. So it just seems like a win-win situation for us, at least as far as I can see. The bishop still can't move. The king is trapped behind its own pawns. We can get checked, but if we do get checked, we get to this square where we can defend our pawns, and then we don't really have any weaknesses. So honestly, I'm getting quite optimistic here. I'll not be cheering prematurely, but this does look quite nice. Definitely looks nice. But there is still some conversion to be done here. Luckily, we do still have 4.5 minutes. This is played. We will come here. This will be played most likely. And if we take here, we'll get forked. So we will most likely take here, and well, this will be played. Is there a fork regardless? How about this, and we just take this, and we're up 2 pawns. Should probably work out just fine. Yeah, let's go for this. Our opponent goes here. We don't want this because it gives our opponent a tempo towards the center. Would much rather prefer seeing them have to go to f8. So, well, I think we take here, as I mentioned. This will be played. We're up 2 pawns. And our king. Our king might as well stay in the center and escort our d pawn, for example. Just want to have a quick look. There might, of course, be alternatives here. This might even be a move, in fact, but probably not. Because we don't quite get in time to generate enough pressure. Let's just take the pawn. We'll lose the knight here. And in this position, I think we should probably be quite winning. There we go. Just had to blow my nose there for a second. Ideally, we don't lose pawns here. Would like to cut off the king, though, from coming to the d file, so we can escort the pawn. But I don't quite see a good way of doing so. How about coming here? Yeah, this looks good. Because then this is met with this. And this, and we might even be able to just walk up, in fact. Or maybe not, we might just go here. We will push the pawn. Can come up with the king behind it all. Might not be ideal to pin ourselves. Don't quite see the difference here between those moves. But let's go here, in fact. This is played. Surely there has to be something concrete here. I'm not quite seeing it, though. But honestly, yeah, this looks good. This could be annoying, though. Do we just go here, maybe? The king is forced back. If we go here, we could get checked from the side. If the rooks are off the board, I think we're in a winning position, but they are not. Can we go here? If we get checked, we might be forced back, but then we can block with the rook. So that might not be bad. I think this works in our favor. So let's push. Now we're probably threatening 2 passed pawns connected. And surely this is just fantastic for us, right? Our opponent allows the rooks to get off the board. And we get this, and this has to be winning. We'll push 1 pawn and walk over, because our opponent has to respond to our threats here. We don't quite have to push them yet either. We can come here, play with those pawns. Our opponent's king has to react once d6 is played. Let's push this, I guess, so this can be met. We'll push d6. Now we have this move. Do we come here? Yeah, I think we do. Forcing this, so we get in. And once we get to f5, the game is over. We'll just go around, pick up a pawn. We might have had opposition as well. Probably the engine wanted us to go here, but this is just as good. We'll go to g7, and this pawn will become a queen. Our opponent resigns, and we get the win today. This felt like a good game. I'll go ahead and say thanks for the game to our opponent. They played well. Let's jump ahead into the game review and have a look. $85.4 today. Our opponent played with 80.2, so it was a pretty nice game. We had a miss, a mistake, 3 inaccuracies. We'll be having a look at those. The graph seems to indicate we made a slight blunder at some point here, and our opponent had an advantage. But apart from that one, I think we had a pretty nice lead throughout a lot of the game. I'll be moving the microphone over a bit, and we'll have a look at all this stuff. Sorry about that. Okay, we have this, apparently. And what happens if, for instance, our opponent ignores and goes here? Then takes. Oh, there is this idea. Okay, I didn't quite realize. I thought this wasn't dangerous because the queen recaptures and this is still defended. Here this was even a mistake because this should have been played immediately. But still, we're in a good position here. Apparently this is not the best move. We should have went here and allowed this. Oh, yeah, this is just free, never mind. I didn't quite see this, forgot about it in this position. But still we did get into something. Okay, this wasn't good. What? Why did I allow this? Yeah, I think we both just missed a knight hanging. Whoops. But it was not spotted. It was not spotted. So we had a lot of good moves here. All good piece shuffling, traded off some pieces, avoided dangerous stuff. Apparently this was not the move. We should have went here. And then the knight would have to move. And I guess we come on over to a better position with the king. We went here though. Oh, there is this move. Didn't quite realize this was a move at all, and in this position, yeah, this is quite annoying. And now we start losing stuff, but it's still a draw though. This was quite good. All good stuff here. This was the best move. This was best. Apparently this was not the best move, but it's still quite good. All good. We pushed up. This was fantastic. This lost our opponent the game, because from this point on the conversion here is a bit too trivial. This was all good, and well, the game was over here and we won. So we're up to 1465 points today. Quite nice, I definitely don't mind. So thanks to Srupra from the UK for the game today. Thanks for watching to the end of the video, guys. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your days, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Bye bye.